And today marks the 17th anniversary of the 1998 U.S. Embassy bombing in Nairobi, which claimed the lives of over 200 Kenyans and dented the lives of thousands of others. As has become tradition, victims and survivors of the blast gather around the August Memorial Park, where they lay wreaths and conduct prayers for those who lost their lives. Many of the survivors have died. For others, a few others have held on to their lives, hoping and praying and believing that their cries and prayers for compensation shall be answered.
7th August 1998, a group of suicide bombers linked to the Al-Qaeda terror network struck Kenya, sending shockwaves across the country and across the world. The bombers drove a truck laden with explosives right into the base of the United States Embassy in Nairobi's central business district, sending the building and adjacent structures crumbling. The aftermath of the attack left more than 200 people dead, including 12 Americans, and over 4,000 others injured. Though the blast happened 17 years ago, victims of the blast are still seeking compensation. Ahead of President Obama's visit to the country last month, the victims took to the streets demanding compensation from the U.S. government. The survivors were hopeful that during his 3-day visit in the country, Obama would take notice of their demands for financial compensation. But this never came to pass. They now accuse the U.S. government of using them to convict the perpetrators of the 1998 attack and later dumping them. Many say that they feel aggrieved that the government has supported businesses affected by the 2013 Westgate terror attack, yet they have been left in the cold 17 years on. Michelle Ngele, KTN News.
Now, Michelle Ngele joins us by way of phone, of course, where some of the survivors of this particular attack are outside the 7th August Memorial Park. Michelle, what is the latest and what is currently happening there? If you could paint us a picture.
Thank you, Ian. Well, a few victims of the 1998 bombers have congregated here at the memorial site to pay their respects to those who lost their lives during the bomb blast, and those who are alive, of course, thankful and just congregating with each other, being thankful for the fact that they still have their lives. But there is quite a large turnout of victims here today, and we've been told that's because some of them were not allowed off time by the employees to attend this event today. And we do have an NGO present. It's called Victims of Terrorism Organization Kenya, and their director, Eliud Mbani, has condemned employers who refuse to let these victims attend this memorial today.
Michelle, do we have any government representation at the park currently?
Absolutely not, but it's really not surprising to the victims that there is no government representation here today, because Eliud Mbani, who is the director of this NGO present, says that earlier this year, while they were holding a protest with regard to compensation, a few government officials actually condemned them, saying that they are embarrassing them in front of the president, and they keep asking for money and compensation. Well, some of them have already been compensated, but Mr. Eliud Mbani said that none of the victims of these bomb blasts have been compensated.
Michelle, and if you have had a chance to talk to some of these survivors, of course, their lives changed since this particular attack. What are they saying? How have they been faring on?
Well, many of them have lived in hardship. I was actually speaking to two young girls whose parents lost their lives at the bomb blast, and they were about 2 years and 7 years old, and they're here to also ask for compensation. And they say life has been very hard for them because, you know, they had parents before and now they don't. They've carried on by the grace of God, but they do feel that the compensation, should they get, will better their lives eventually.
And Michelle, with that effect, we saw President Barack Obama, of course, visit the park, and compensation was not of the subject matter. Do they still have hope for compensation?
Come again?
I'm saying that we even saw the U.S. President visit the park for the first time. Do they, and compensation did not come on top of the table. Do they still have hope for this?
Well, yes, many of them did expect a compensation to come out of Obama's visit to the memorial site. And we did hear that this was part of the conversation that he held with the President Uhuru Kenyatta. And we're yet to see what will come out of the visit here. Although the organization here, the Victims of Terrorism Organization Kenya, say that this will, the government is doing something to compensate the victims.
Thank you very much. That is our reporter Michelle Ngele just giving us an update where she is outside the 7th August Memorial Park, where victims of the 1998 U.S. Embassy bombing are currently laying wreaths and remembering this particular day that changed their lives completely. Of course, Kenya lost at least 200 people.